Welcome to more Gran Turismo Sports Specialtatin. Yes, folks, my channel isn't completely Gran Turismo 7 yet, though I can't wait for it to be. Now, there's not quite enough content for it to be yet, but it's not like there's a lot of content in sport, but whatever, I'm gonna try to not complain as much about sport now because we know there's GT7, so I am just impatiently waiting at this point, but still, I mean, there's Racing Bros as well if y'all want that. There's 3 minutes of content for Racing Bros, but there still is Racing Bros. But anyway, let's get into GT Sport again, and this is Willow Springs. I like Willow Springs, but this is a race from a few weeks ago. And it is a last to first challenge at Streets of Willow. Quite narrow track and slow speed, and there's a lot of braking zones, and y'all know what braking zones means by now. If y'all are still watching videos at this point of GT Sport, y'all figured out that braking zones mean scary things. But I will give GT Sport, PD, whatever credit with this is, since my hiatus, I figured out that they've actually added penalties into the replays now, so I can do the fancy replay cameras and stuff, and it will still show penalties. Granted, there still is a benefit of having the replays just in the direct capture and not saved and then recorded, is that you don't get this. Why they decided to do that with sport, I have no idea. But I will say that they're deciding to not give penalties all that yet, even though there is some shucking and jiving and maybe even some sweeving, so I can't complain about that. That I kind of used my phrase, maybe even some sweeving too quick and not in all that dramatic of a moment. Maybe, but that's kind of the point. It's not all that dramatic yet. There was some sweeving. There's really no maybe about it. There was some close racing, but I'm fine that they didn't give penalties there because no one really got too out of shape. Everybody was kind of touching everybody in ways that could be seen as offensive, but if everybody was doing it, no, I'm not, no. Okay, okay, forget, yeah, okay. I can't do that anymore. Okay, maybe to some people they should have been penalties there, but yeah, then that happened. So, when you think some things are maybe wrong, but then stuff like that happens, yeah, penalizes stuff like that first. Please don't take that out of context. I've already made this video way. And, yeah, you know, I'm just gonna... I will say that I'm voting for Biden and just move on to the next bit of the video. How many dislikes can this video get, I wonder? Well, at least it's GT Sport content. I'm still kind of sort of doing that content. And again, in the pretty cinematic view. And that there is a penalty there, but I don't exactly know what that's from. I think it might have just been cutting the track. It wasn't from any contact that I can tell, and that's nice, I guess. I'm fine with track cut penalties as long as they're fair. And it's not just you have 0 tires off the track, but you still get a penalty anyway because you looked at the side of the track funny. Don't interpret that different either, please. No, please don't. People's already been said that I've been canceled for like 2 years now, though, so I kind of don't even care. There's also a library, too, which I have over 450 followers on, and I very much thank y'all for that. So, library is fine with what I'm doing, and that's nice, right, Yonder? YouTube isn't really fine with anybody. YouTube doesn't care about their creators. I can say that actually quite confidently. I don't think anyone gets offended by that anymore. If the only ones that gets offended by YouTube that, I really don't care whatsoever. I can say that 100% really truly confidently is YouTube does not give one snikes about their creators. I will say this too, a library I can just straight up cuss too, but given that I put the videos on other platforms, it's still kind of shaky in that. But if the only complaint I have of other platforms is you ain't allowed to cuss, then that's not that major of a complaint compared to all the complaints there are for YouTube. But if you notice how this video is just turned to generally I complain about GT Sport, but now in this video I'm just complaining about some stuff that I try to make just just enough out of context where people can't tie it in something else, and then I really truly do get canceled. But that's the point of this video as a whole, is I'm not really trying to make an overarching statement for anything, really. I'm just trying to make the statement of that this will be the end of the complaining and such. I'm not really trying to offend anyone. I'm not really trying to make a statement at this point. GT7 is going to happen, and that's nice, and just we can be fairly calm at this point. GT Sport is kind of a lost cause, but even PD knows this at this point. They're moving on to GT7, and I'm perfectly fine with that. I will still do GT Sport content, especially when the racing itself is already this good too. It's been a nice three-way battle for the lead for quite a while, and the penalty system is still pretty much either it goes completely one way or completely not. But there actually wasn't any contact. That's why I went back to this part of the video too, is that I was really kind of picking close to hitting that driver, but I didn't. I swear I didn't. I was like, I mean, just look. I may have been like 4 inches away from hitting that car, but I didn't actually hit that car. So that wasn't my fault. There wasn't contact. I swear there wasn't. That's actually going back into the race instead of the overarching thing, but kind of back to where I was. Just, I wanted to point that out, is that there actually was not contact there, because I do kind of feel sorry for that driver, but it wasn't my fault, so I'm not going to wait either, because there wasn't quite contact there again. I don't really think it was all that much lag either, because my wired connection's like 27 megabytes download now. It's not fiber or anything, but it's much, much better than it used to be. Which is another point, too, of just overall good news, and quit with the bad stuff now, and that's the overall point of this video, is that it's looking like the PS5, they're going to just straight up give you a mic that works directly with the thing. Like, apparently with PS4, there was some version of bundles you could get with some sort of mic that you could, like, connect to it or something, but you still had to get a way to talk, and it just started out with headphones or something. But from how it's looking like with the PS5, you're going to be able to get a mic, and then the audio is from your controller. So from what I can tell, that means that maybe with the PS5, no guarantees yet, but I can guarantee that driver that I didn't quite hit got some bad luck there in it. I do feel kind of sorry for that, because that driver going off track was the same driver involved in that. But anyway, from what I can tell, the big news, the accidentally delay. But again, I wanted to bring up the actual race itself, because I feel bad for that driver again. But I didn't make contact. I didn't want any of that to happen. So still. But anyway, back to the thing is, maybe I can actually record not using my phone. Maybe. Because I guess it's still going to do direct capture in some way, shape, or form. And then maybe that mic mixed with the audio coming from the controller, I can just record with the direct capture with that mic that they give me. Maybe. No guarantees, but that's kind of what it's looking like now. I know there's already people saying you can do that with PS4, blah, blah, blah. But as far as I know, there's only certain PS4s that had that mic that came with it. And even still, at the current point, I didn't get one of those PS4s, and my PS4 internet, whatever in general, isn't actually good enough to support a mic, so there's no point in getting a mic either, because I can't run it online anyway. So if they give me one for the PS5, and the speaker is the volume for it, so I don't have to have a separate thing for volume, I may be able to move on from the phone, like, really truly for PS5 stuff. I already got a tripod that's not great, but it's better than it was, but I might be able to move on completely. But I will say this race was actually pretty great. It ended as cleanly as I could do. Again, it was kind of close-knit, but overall I would still say clean. And it ended to where I wanted to go for the win. I knew that I was really picking close to that driver, so I didn't really want to sweep back. There maybe could have been some sweeping there. But if maybe there was even some sweeping, that almost certainly would have been a wreck. So I wanted to stay on the outside there. And though I could have probably swerved back and maybe got the win. I just didn't really want to make contact there. That was a dive bomb and a half, and I ain't gonna deny that, but I wanted to make sure there wasn't contact in the dive bomb, so I stayed in the dirt there, which slowed me down a bit. But overall, even though maybe I could have had some dirty tactics and won that race, that's kind of the point, is I don't really want as much like the negatives and the dirty tactics and all that. And while I'm sure it will come in the future and all that, I'm going to try to not make that the points anymore. The overall point of this video was just to get the negatives out now and say that the focus will be more on the positives, and that while the penalty system is still kind of bad and it's extremely exploitable and there's plenty of flaws even just in the track cutting and all that, and the ghosting, yeah, it's the same stuff I've been saying for 3 years, essentially. A lot of it they haven't fixed. I'm going to try to focus on the positive. I will say that probably at some point I am going to do a video of just showing all the things that PD never fixed. It's not necessarily meant to be a negative. It's just meant to be more of a documentation of it. So that way when we move on to GT7, we can compare that to then what is in GT7 to see if they fix some of that stuff. But for now, yeah, I'm actually going to try to be more positive. That doesn't mean I'm going to succeed at it, but I'm going to put effort into not dealing with the penalties and all that. Again, they're showing the more cinematic cameras now with the penalties, so the penalties will show up, but I don't necessarily have to make them the main focus anymore. And even though there has been quite a bit of negatives, I guess we already know the future is worth a yeehaw, but as of now, is it worth a yeehaw? I guess given that we don't have to necessarily worry about the negatives anymore because they're a moot point, because GT7's on the horizon, and hopefully a lot of that will be fixed. And even if it ain't, we can still have Trial Mountain. So that's worth a yeehaw.